He looks like the guy in Spider-Man who kills Uncle Ben. He's got the bleached
Which
tits.
one? All of them.
Yeah.
All of the guys who have ever killed Uncle Ben. It just looks like Chad Kroger, and that's why they suck.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that to Uncle Ben. Here's the thing that I understand. I understand when video games based on movies are bad because you're taking something that is 2 hours and you're trying to make it a 40-hour interactive experience, and I get that. Fine. It's gonna get fucked. I don't understand why video games make bad movies.
I think it's the people directing them.
I think there's a lot of things that go on behind that. I think one of the biggest problems when making a video game movie is the characters. There is a lack of character in video game heroes because they're supposed to be a vessel for the person playing the game. It is supposed to be a person that you can identify with. It's kind of been, I mean, you look at Mario, like he didn't talk for like 15 years. And then he just was like, spaghetti, buca and then you add to that, there's another thing, and it's the fact that the people who make video game movies are always sort of like, oh, they need help. They need training wheels. We're gonna have to make this. The idea of an Italian plumber who fights dinosaurs and eats a lot of mushrooms, we're gonna need help with this. What's Dennis Hopper doing? Like,
but that's, I mean, that's the thing it's an empty vessel. It is what it is. But like, how do you take that empty vessel? How do you look at Super Mario Brothers, any Super Mario Brothers game, and come up with a weird dystopian Bob Hoskins vehicle? Like, that's just, you just don't want to make the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, you need to suck it up and say you don't want to make
That's a really bad example. I think the best way to look at video game movies is to look at the ones that have come closest and check out what they did right.
Right. So
and
it's
the best
2012.
Video game movie is Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. It's 2012, and we have not had a better video game movie still than Mortal Kombat.
See, and even that one I feel like is kind of an easy
say.
choice. No. I'm not saying the movie is bad, not at all. I totally agree with it being the best video game movie, although
it's so good.
I mean, there's so many crappy ones. It's kind of a
There are like
losing.
15, 20 minutes within Mortal Kombat that we all forget about where it gets real slow. Like right before Reptile shows up. And like Liu Kang is just walking around or whatever.
I love that because they're basically like, you have come to this island to fight a battle of Mortal Kombat to decide the fate of the Earth realm, and then it's like, but until lunch is served, you are on free time, and then everyone just wanders around.
Yeah, they're just like hanging out on the island.
The reason that fighting game movies work, and the reason that there are so many of them, is that is not a case where you're stuck with this one boring main character and a handful of like overly colorful side characters. You've got an entire cast of characters.
Yeah,
you
and
can pick and choose.
There's not much of a story to work with already, so you can just kind of like go off on your own, and people won't care as long as it's like within the realm of that world.
But at the same time, like,
as long as some people fight, and there's some of them in there, you pretty much got it covered.
So, but here's Resident Evil. Resident Evil. Strong characters, strong plot. It's got a backstory that people care about. And I think this is just one of those things where director looks at it and goes, yeah, I get it. Maybe didn't really play it as much, maybe didn't really care to know it. I really feel like there's nobody behind the scenes from these video game companies that's like cutting a highlight reel of the game together for these directors. You know what I mean? Take the best parts, show it to them and be like, no, this is how Resident Evil works.
Right.
This is what it's about. This is cool.
I think also, that's also the director of Mortal Kombat, and the director of Resident Evil is Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yep.
Whose background is in special effects, and he basically, I think he kind of found out, he's like, okay, video game movies, these make money, and you've got some wiggle room, and people will still go see them. He's made like, 6 Resident Evil movies or something?
6 of them, yeah.
And at this point, it's pretty much just like, all right, my wife Mila Jovovich puts on a corset, and then there's some slow motion, and it's so
and
far
only
removed.
I get to sleep with her at the end of the day. All right, here we go, everybody. But this guy, Paul W.S. Anderson, is known in Hollywood. The reason he keeps getting hired is he takes these licensed franchises, he turns in a movie in time and under budget every time. He does them super cheap. They're always going to make money. The other side of that spectrum is Uwe Boll, who does the same thing. He's like, I'm going to buy this license as cheaply as I can, make the movie as cheaply as I can, and you're going to watch it.
I've heard, and I don't know if this will get me killed for saying it, I've heard that Uwe Boll does money laundering for the Russian mob. Like, I've heard that that's why his movies get made. And he takes a bunch of money and he goes to like Eastern Europe, he goes to Prague and he films House of the Dead with a bunch of like, struggling actresses.
He was getting these, I think you were about to bring this up, he
Yeah.
was getting these tax write-offs. If you're a German making a movie in Germany with a German crew, you got like 90% of your budget back.
There's like no way the investors could lose money because they can write 100% off of it as a tax write-off, and then if the movie loses money, they can still write that off as a tax
And
write-off.
see, so here's the thing the backbone of this whole thing that I think is coming out as we talk about this. Video games just aren't respected by Hollywood.
They're not respected by the developers either when they're being taken to Hollywood, because I feel like so many video games are inspired by movies that they're like, oh my god, like the popular kid suddenly noticed me. A year after high school's over, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
what
you
do I
can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. Oh wow, jeepers! And I mean that's what like.
Can I sit on the set?
They're working on a Deus Ex movie, and they've got this guy who made like 2 horror movies, and they've got like sort of some producers involved, but
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, they're undervaluing the franchise.
I feel like they also don't have an accurate picture of what gamers really want. Like a game like Resident Evil, people don't like because it's action-packed and there's hot chicks in it, which is like what draws people to the movies.
Yeah.
And I think that they kind of ascribe that mentality to all of gamers and assume that we all want something like really action-packed with lots of car chases and like a Michael Bay movie basically as a video game.
When
and
in
it doesn't
reality,
work.
it was like these developers watched these George Romero movies,
Yeah.
made a video game, and then did not go and get a George Romero movie made.
What really bugs me is when there are games that are very, very apparently that borrow very heavily from movies, or that are just clearly inspired by genres of filmmaking, and then people try and option them to make movies. Like making an Uncharted movie is redundant because
I feel like that about
really?
everything.
Whoa!
I feel like that would be like making a movie about a movie.
Kind of. I mean, the whole
Like
point
it's
is
so cinematic to begin with.
okay. Nathan Drake is enough of a character.
He's enough of a
But-
character, Sully's enough of a character. You can put them in any situation you want to, you know what I mean? As long as it's got that kind of Indiana Jonesy vibe. And here's the other, I feel like we're looking for a new Indiana Jones right now. Harrison Ford is 90. The last one sucked. Steven Spielberg won't make movies about Nazis anymore.
Yeah.
So who's gonna step in? A good Nathan Drake movie?
Who's gonna step in? Was it Nathan Fillion and then the guy who made The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg?
David O. Russell. So David O. Russell was the wrong guy, and Mark Wahlberg was the wrong guy, and they're both off the movie now.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yeah.
But I would love to see, just because Uncharted is based on a kind of movie that we don't get very much anymore, I would love to see it.
Yeah, I think that what needs to happen is they don't need to be we are going to translate the video game and the origin story into a movie. They need to treat it like a James Bond picture. They need to be okay, let's take some bits and pieces. Let's see what works and get the stuff that's familiar and sort of throw it in there, but not take too many liberties. I would also
Yeah.
love to see
I mean, that's
an
the key,
entirely
right?
new character. When there's stuff that's a bigger universe or whatever. What's a good example? Like Mass Effect, for instance. If you had Commander Shepard as the star of Mass Effect the movie, that would be the worst thing ever.
It would be just like the game.
Well, I mean, it would just be trying to retell the game, and it would automatically. I mean, I don't. That's a poor example, but Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
If you're just gonna retell Assassin's Creed 2 with Michael Fassbender playing Ezio, why bother? Why not do an entirely new portion of that universe?
Right.
I feel like that's what Ubisoft is probably gonna do because they've done some really cool stuff with the comics. They could probably hire some smart writers to set up
That's a dangerous road, though, right? Because you had Square doing that with the Final Fantasy movie. Square was like, we're gonna handle this. This is our franchise. We're not gonna rehash a story that we've told before. And they fucked it. Final Fantasy was terrible. That was a terrible movie.
there were no chocobos, and it was set on Earth. Failure.
Failure. And it was all CG characters that were very clearly rip-offs of real actors, too. I remember there was CG Michael Baldwin or Alec Baldwin and CG Jennifer Jason Leigh, and I'm just just hire them. Just hire them, make a live action movie.
Yeah. Well, then there's also the problem is
What are some other ones besides Mortal Kombat that have done it well? It's really hard to think of, right?
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill was pretty
Those
decent.
were some of the more decent ones, I think.
I never saw the second one.
I also feel though it's kind of easier to do it with horror because you just have a creepy atmosphere, throw in some scares, have some characters
easy,
in there.
or does it just seem like it was easy because they actually followed the plan that time? You know what I mean? Does it just seem like it was easy because they took the plot and they did what they were supposed to with it?
Yeah, I guess it seems easy because they actually like took the right route.
It seemed like they cared about Silent Hill at least a little bit.
But at the same time, some of the video game movies that are so bad, I feel like they were trying to be bad, you know?
Yeah.
Who
Be
thought a
brilliant.
live action Mario would be good? Movie. Thing, word.
I don't know, some bad time.
I'm saying words in the order
Super Mario
opposite.
Brothers movie.
They did a
broke
great
her.
write-up on that in Game Informer. We're talking about just basically everything that went wrong. And John Leguizamo talked about how when they were filming it,
Oh God, I forgot he was in that.
He and Bob Hoskins would just be drinking scotch
yeah,
between
they were
takes.
drunk.
And there was a scene where they were supposed to drive a van, because again, it's the Mario Brothers movie, and they're driving their van, and then John Leguizamo broke his thumb because Bob Hoskins was like drunk behind the wheel or something.
There were 3 different scripts by 3
Mario
different
Brothers.
writers. And now, like, Nintendo and Miyamoto have said that they will never try to make another Mario movie. They just won't do it because of what happened. And they will never try to make a Zelda movie or any movies based on their franchises because of what happened with Super Mario Brothers. We offended an entire country. And they will never work with us again.
We do that a lot though. in
Yeah,
our
and John
defense.
Leguizamo broke his hand.
They should have expected
He didn't
that.
deserve that.
That's messed up.
His one-man show was excellent.
They put Dennis Hopper in a hot air balloon and turned him into a lizard.
You mean his one
That was
hand
actually
show?
a pretty accurate part, I
No.
guess.